Hi, everybody. My name is Alan Jacobson, and I'm a co-lead elder of MKP New England area. And today is Saturday, September 4th, 2021, and I'm here with Jack Childs. Jack, how are you today?
I'm grand.
You're always so positive every time I see you or talk to you. So before we start on the subject of eldership in a shifting era, I'd like to just talk a little bit about your bio, which is quite extensive. And you asked me to leave out the Nobel Prize and all the Pulitzers because you don't want to brag. So we'll just go right to what's that?
There's no room for the
Nobel. So the shelves are only so long. So you were born in 1930 and grew up in Cape Cod, and you made your decision to die to myself and become a monk when you were 16. That's when you left home for good to enter novitiate in Barrytown on the Hudson, where you earned a master's in fine arts in painting. And then you got a master's from Brooklyn College in counseling, and then finally a doctorate in counseling from University of Tennessee in Knoxville. And with permission from your religious order, you were asked by the head of the department at Knoxville if you would take over a school for emotionally disturbed children who had rioted on the clinical psychologist. And you did, and within a year, the program was on its feet. And from there, you did a stint at Florida at the Mental Health Center in Gainesville for 2 years before coming back to New England at Salve Regina University in Newport, Rhode Island. And after only being there for 2 years, you created a master's degree program in holistic counseling, included Cartesian Newtonian science and transcending to quantum physics, and offering the opportunity to be licensed in states. And you finally retired at the age of 78 in 2008. In 2003, you made the New Warrior training at Clara Barton in Massachusetts. You staffed 36 times, last time in 2018. And as an elder, you served as the lead elder of New England elders for 5 years. And you've attended most every elder gathering, including London, Dorset, in Australia. And most importantly, you rescue cats. So that's pretty amazing bio, Jack. Is there anything in there that you want to talk about for a bit?
Grand, thank you.
Okay.
Grand, by the way, is an Irish expression. Oh, it's grand.
I didn't know that. My grandmother used to use it all the time, and she wasn't Irish. So I guess it carried over. And her husband, my grandfather's name was Julius, but she called him Pat. So maybe she wanted to be Irish. Go figure that.
And another life.
Exactly. So today's talk, again, is eldership in a shifting era. And so I had some questions to kind of lead you into what you've written and to share with everybody. So could you describe elders and their importance to society?
Elders are traditionally men or women who are respected for their life achievements, acquired knowledge of the culture and of their wisdom. An aspect of wisdom is allowing the knowing to come through us rather than being right. It entails letting go of fixed ideas and rigid attitudes. As Michael Meade puts it, through soul, we connect to the most ancient knowledge as well as the immediate inspirations of life. Soul awakens as things seem to fall apart. Quotation, letting more room for soul, we find more moments of wholeness.
Thanks, Jack. So I have a couple of questions there. When he talks about the soul awakens as things seem to fall apart, letting more room for soul as we find more moments of wholeness. How would you explain that a little bit more?
Elderhood is a term that describes human beings who utilize their accumulated experience and learning as they reach old age to mentor those who are young, contributing to the evolution of human animals. The word animal, in case it bothers you, comes from the Latin anima or soul, though it has over time been tarnished and even derogatory, the word animal. As Zalman Schachter puts it, being old doesn't necessarily make us an elder. Some who haven't discovered themselves can be foolish. Traditions of elders were created over various cultures from ancient times. The concept of collective unconscious plays a part in eldership. In Jungian psychology, it means the part of the unconscious mind, which is derived from the ancestral memory and experience, and is common to all humankind as distinct from the individual consciousness.
That was pretty deep, Jack. So, next question I have is, what are some of the functions of elders, both in our society and in other parts of the world?
It says elders are often called to undertake the following: teacher, counselor, ceremony conductor, healer, mentor, and conflict resolver. Each of these categories is not distinct. For instance, an elder is responsible for teaching the ceremonies and knowledge of healing to the next generation, as well as their stature to help resolve conflicts while imparting cultural teachings. It must be remembered, however, that every elder has a unique experience and lessons gathered over a lifetime that will make the individual more adept in some roles than others.
So, Jack, if you can talk a little bit more about elders and what they do, the value to society, and also how MKP has an impact, not just in our organization, but also in society as a whole. I'd appreciate it.
Yes, elders are committed to living what they teach, helping others, and working to improve individual and community well-being. Elders generally are expected to remain neutral or passive when speaking or working with people. However, they may assume more of a vocal stance or immediate actions if they are determined to be needed. For instance, elders are taking leading roles in resisting and guiding resistance to corporate and colonial exploitation. As we are doing here during the celebration of elders, we are exhibiting a beginning to action. We are blessed to have among us in NKP who have been over time championing the work of what I'm talking about here, such as Elders for Climate Change and those who work in prisons like Jericho Center here in New England.
Thanks, Jack. In your title, which included eldership in a shifting era, could you explain what you mean by shifting era and how do the changing times impact us and our future generations?
In today's turbulent times, we pass through shifting eras. There exists among the Earth's inhabitants feelings of despair and chaos. The United Nations did an in-depth survey to identify what the main problems are regarding mankind. Thousands of surveys were completed. The number one issue that has been identified across cultures is rootlessness. The old world is passing. It is incumbent on us as elders to bring back what is valuable from the past and to guide us in creating, mentoring new stories that root all beings on the planet, including non-human. Rootlessness has the effect of distancing the young from the elders. Life can appear to be meaningless.
Yeah, it's a great awareness to have, even though that's a very sad place to be as far as the rootlessness that has happened over the decades and the last few generations especially. So, looking at the extraordinary difficult times that we're facing now, with global and social turmoil, drastic climate changes and the pandemic, how do you think we can approach these challenges as individuals and also as part of a collective society?
I would like to refer to Michael Mead's thoughts, which he has accumulated over his lifetime. And he speaks of nature and culture. We see the world as we are, not as it is. Everyone is enculturated as if by osmosis. We carry the beliefs of our cultures. To be opened beyond them, we must learn to see the light in the darkness. As the turmoil in our societies begets despair, seeing the darkness beckons us to look for the light within darkness. The greatest cause of despair is not being who you are inside yourself. The true self is unique characteristics that you were born with, such as a personal genius that we can contribute to the continuing evolution of the planet.
Wow. Yeah, that's sort of a universal truth. You know, the greatest cause of despair is not being who you are, you know, deep down. I think that's one of the wonderful things that MKP helps men do, is to find out who they are beneath all the masks. So,
Yeah.
so the next question is, you know, how do we ensure that we light the torches of the younger generations, of those who are here and those who will come after? What can we do to help fan the flames? And you know, you talked about also being more vibrant. Our age doesn't have to define our energy level necessarily, but to be more vibrant. And that vibrancy, I think, will attract and appeal to younger people.
As elders, it is essential that we mentor, a word that comes from Greek mythology. Mentor was a friend of Odysseus, who was entrusted to the education of his son, Telemachus. So, a mentor is a trusted counselor or guide because he is detached and disinterested, can hold up a mirror to us. We are destined to mentor the young who are newly come in this world. The young face their own challenges of learning to socialize, educate, and wade through obstacles that can overwhelm them. In fact, we know how many suicides there are. We are here for them without our own personal agenda. In turn, elders need the energy and vision of the young who inherit the earth. There are young leaders that are vibrant and exciting, such as Greta Thunberg, the magazine Times Person of the Year in 2019. Thunberg has no magic solution, but she has succeeded in creating a global attitudinal shift, transforming millions of vague middle of the night anxieties into a worldwide movement calling for urgent change.
Yes, you know, it'd be great to be part of that movement. And, you know, how do we keep fanning the flames? You know, just staying involved. Elders for Climate Justice are affiliated with a lot of different universities and other organizations. And it's asking the question, what can we do as individuals, you know, to make this world a better place? It's not just who we vote for, but it's how we live our lives, as far as how much energy we use and how we recycle. So when we were growing up, the issues around global warming and pollution didn't seem to be that much of an issue based on my memory. How about you when you were growing up? Did you notice that part of the conversation?
I grew up in a time that saw the Great Depression and that saw World War II, and people were together. It was a we generation that disintegrated over time into today's me generation.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons that happened. Technology, computers, smartphones, more crime.
Over logos.
Right. the 80s that went from we to me, with the leadership we had then. But, it's about the decisions each person makes and how they want to lead their life. But over the past few decades, it's become more clear that two scientists, that human behavior is causing the climatic issues. So here's another question. These aren't easy, but how do we mobilize humanity to work together for the greater good?
Okay, yeah. We're all the custodians of the planet. If elders connect with them, there could be a powerful and synergistic effect on how much we could accomplish collectively. Today's youth has access to internet from the time they were very young and have responded to much information which leads to knowledge and wisdom. Elders have the experience of life to share with the youth. And back to Mead. Elders are here to hold space for the younger generations as they figure out their lives, as they stumble and dust themselves off and start again. The thought of what elders are called to do in a shifting era, and especially the urgency of climate change, is a sign that humans have contributed to the shame of the planet, to the shame of the nature of the planet. Nature is more than static and mechanical. What can we in MKP, elderhood, aspire to? How do we offer leadership to others outside MKP that contributes to furthering our connection to those who might join us? And as many of you remember from your New Warrior training, Margaret Mead, who's not the wife of Michael, wrote, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that did." Boom.
Yeah, that's a powerful quote. Thanks, Jack. Just a couple more areas I'd like to delve into. One is, what are the deeper challenges to accepting the need for change in our behavior and the way we view the world and one another?
The change in the outer world begins with a change in each person. All the levels of life are secretly connected to each person. Michael Mead points to ancient terminology, logos. Logos means logic and linear thinking. Mythos, which means feeling, imagination, and mystery. We're called to go beyond the limits of logos that has filled the mechanical world we know. Mythology has largely been lost and needs to be brought back. Young people are absorbing fatalism from adults around them, those who largely see only known facts. To connecting science to storytelling is important if we're going to move ahead. I am struck by the words of Margaret Mead. The cosmos is regenerative. That's Michael Mead. The cosmos is regenerative, just like a forest. It is back again anew. Oh, I'm sorry. It is necessary to see the world in a new way. So as the world falls apart, we need a vision to weave it back again anew, as has happened repeatedly ever over eons. We need enough people changing their lives, and that will change nature. And
Thanks,
yeah,
Jack. That's yeah, it's like how do you reach critical mass? That's one of the questions. So how do we do that? You know, but so
in 4 sentences,
or less, right?
I'd like to point out that the existence of the pandemic can be linked to the very fact of climate change. It's the accumulation of things that we're talking about in the shifting eras. Mead has told a tale of an old woman who was weaving the most beautiful garment in the world in her cave. As she goes to stir the stew, a little black dog tears apart the garment. She has to reweave it once again. The reality of today is shifting eras and the need for reweaving the planet.
What a great metaphor. What a great imagery. You know, I remember hearing that story that Michael Mead shares about the dog ripping apart the beautiful garment. And the woman, instead of being very upset and freaking out and scolding the dog, she just looks at it as though, okay, well, this is what I have to deal with. What's the best use of my time right now? How to move forward? And then she started creating a new garment. So
With sore hands.
with sore hands, with probably arthritic hands. So, Jack, thank you very much for your time and the wisdom you shared. And is there anything else you'd like to say before we end?
No, nothing other than there's hope in the fact that we're here today and collaborating.
So what is your, sure.
Collaborating.
That's right. That's right. So might be good to end on what your spirit name used to be, and you made a change recently into what your new spirit name is, if you don't mind sharing that.
No, I don't mind. So I had been saying something more negative. It's about Cobra. Anyway.
You were wild, weren't you Wiley Cobra?
Wiley Cobra.
Wiley Cobra.
Because I was too innocent all my life. Over innocent. That doesn't mean I didn't do bad things. But
right.
But it just came to me because I know the term so well. Agnus Dei, Lamb of God.
Well, Lamb of God, thank you again. Many blessings. And stay healthy and lots of love. Take care.
Adieu.